And now we move on to the third fight of Alexander Volkanovski versus Max Holloway. I do believe that Alexander Volkanovski did beat Max Holloway in that second fight. I do believe he beat him in the first fight. I don't even understand how the first fight is is debated. That was a clean sweep for Volkanovski. He won that fight 50-45. But moving on, we're gonna get the final third fight. And I'm picking Alexander Volkanovski to win again. I picked him to win the first fight. I picked him to win the second fight. And I'm going to pick him to win the third fight. I do believe he goes 3-0 over Max Holloway. And this is a legacy killer. If you're Max Holloway and you lose to Volkanovski 3 times, that's a legacy killer. That really is, honestly. Yeah, I would really suck for Holloway if he lost 3 times, because no matter how much Max Holloway did in the featherweight division after this, and he's lost the 3 times to Volkanovski, Volkanovski is always going to be that shadow over his career, and so he really needs to beat Alexander Volkanovski in this one here. But I just think Volkanovski's a bad matchup for Max Holloway. People talk about Max Holloway's striking offense, which is really, really good, yes, but his striking defense does leave a lot to be desired. The guy has absorbed the most significant strikes in the UFC history. I believe he's absorbed something like 1,900 significant strikes, and he's never been knocked down apart from when Dustin Poirier knocked him down, but he ended up kind of falling up against the cage, and he didn't really go down. But that's kind of crazy. He's got a crazy chin on him, but I feel like there's a point in time when that chin doesn't work as it used to, and I don't believe it's going to happen against Volkanovski. I do believe Volkanovski wins, and I do believe Volkanovski does win by finish, but I'll talk about that a little bit later. Max Holloway, really, really good striker. So is Volkanovski too, to his credit as well, but really good output. I believe he's landed the most significant strikes in UFC history as well, with a crazy number. He's got some crazy records for strikes landed in a single fight. And but he's absorbed a lot of strikes as well, and that's what concerns me. And even then, against Yair Rodriguez, it comes down to this Yair Rodriguez fight for me. He went to war with Yair Rodriguez, and he took a lot of damage in that fight. He fought Calvin Kattar. He took a bit of damage against Calvin Kattar as well. Calvin Kattar did land damage on Max Holloway, and I don't think people really talk about that too much. Yes, Holloway put on the most dominant performance I think anyone has ever seen, but he did get cracked a little bit in the start of the fight. He did take some damage there. He took some damage against Yair. In fact, at points, if it wasn't for the takedowns, Max Holloway potentially would have lost that fight on the feet with Yair Rodriguez. And Yair Rodriguez was coming back after like a 2-year layoff or something absolutely insane like that. So I think that Alexander Volkanovski has made more improvements since the first 2 fights than Max Holloway has. He looked incredible against Chan Sung Jung, who did take it on I think 6 weeks notice or something like that. But he looked really good against Brian Ortega. He finished Brian Ortega in the third round. If the referee actually did his job, he finished Brian Ortega at the end of the third, because Brian Ortega needed his cornerman to lift him up onto a stool, and that's TKO win for Volkanovski. But hey, it is what it is. I do believe that this is for everything. This is for potentially the greatest featherweight of all time right here. I think it's still going to be Jose Aldo, even with a win by Volkanovski. I feel like if Volkanovski beat Holloway and then beat Josh Emmett, then you could call him that. I still think that Jose Aldo will be the greatest, even after this fight, to be honest. But this fight is huge. 2 of the most skilled fighters on the planet right now. 2 of the most well-rounded fighters on the planet. I do believe Alexander Volkanovski is the most well-rounded fighter on the entire roster, which is crazy, but I do believe that. I do believe that is true. And Max Holloway, really good striker. So many records, and I do give him his respect. But there does come to a point where I've just got to kind of pick Volkanovski, because I think he's going to win, and I do believe he's going to win by finish, guys. I really do. But I don't think he's going to win by KO on the feet. I think Volkanovski's ground and pound is just so brutal that he's going to finish Max Holloway with ground and pound at the end of the third or the end of the fourth round. I think he's going to use his wrestling. I do believe Alexander Volkanovski will be taking down Max Holloway in this fight, and I do believe he will be looking to ground and pound against Max Holloway. And Volkanovski's ground and pound is brutal, man. And I think he's going to look to use it. I really do. I don't really know why, but there's just a sneaking suspicion in me that Volkanovski's going to look to use ground and pound against Holloway. And even then on the feet, Volkanovski's got more power than Max Holloway. Max Holloway hasn't finished anyone since 2018, and that was Brian Ortega. And even then he didn't really finish him. That was just in between rounds, So we know that Volkanovski's got way more finishing ability than Max Holloway does. And I'm picking him. I think he's going to put a stamp on this trilogy, you know. If the fight goes 5 rounds again and Volkanovski wins a decision, I don't think people are still going to be that happy with him. I feel like he's going to put a stamp on this one. I'm feeling ground and pound TKO for Volkanovski at the end of the third or at the end of the fourth. And here's another one as well. Holloway was slowing down at the end of that Yair Rodriguez fight as well. Volkanovski, yes, he was slowing down at the end of the Ortega fight, but that's because Volkanovski has used all of his energy beating the shit out of Brian Ortega. Like, let's be real. Like, he beat Brian Ortega up bad, you know, and he just spent all of his energy doing that. You know what I mean? But hey, I'm picking Volkanovski. I'm so confident in Volkanovski to get this one done, man. I know Holloway's got a lot of fanboys, and even then, like, I'm gonna get so much dislikes for this. I don't really understand why a lot of people follow Max Holloway. I don't really understand the hype behind him. Like whatsoever. I don't see Max Holloway fighters coming up, and I don't really get that excited for it. But that's just me. Also, Volkanovski's got a longer reach than Holloway, even though he's 5 inches shorter. I didn't even realize that. Okay. Does Max have short arms, or does Volkanovski just have really long arms, or is it a combination of them both? I feel like it's a combination of both, but yeah, I think Volkanovski's going to land with more power. I think he's going to look to use the takedowns as well, and I do believe he's going to also look to ground and pound. As I was saying before, I think we're going to see ground and pound TKO at the end of the third or at the end of the fourth. And I think we're going to see a beating. I think we're going to see Volkanovski put a beating on Max Holloway here. But imagine if Volkanovski just beats the shit out of Max Holloway for 5 rounds, and Max Holloway just gets like the most bullshit decision win ever. Oh, that'd be so bad. Anyway, I think Volkanovski's going to beat the crap out of Holloway. I really do believe that. No disrespect to him, but I think Volkanovski's Max Holloway's nightmare matchup, and it's just a shame that he's met him at the top, you know what I mean, and not like towards the end of his career or whatever. I think Volkanovski's going to win. I think he's going to put on a dominant performance. I'm really confident in it. Give me Volkanovski.